Okay, so welcome everybody. We have a couple things to talk about today. We had how many people renewed, Claire? Like 87?
83.
83 guild renewals. That's amazing.
It is.
Amazing in these times. And I'm sure some of the other people will still renew. This happens every year. So we're right on track of where we were expecting to be this time of year. It's wonderful. I want to share my screen with you. I'm going to share the Kern County Health Department's COVID statistics. Okay. So this is as of yesterday. And yesterday they recorded 1,208 new cases, which is way down, way down. And if we look at all cases for the whole course, you know, we've had these 4 phases. Now, this is the one that we were way up here at 3,000 cases, new cases a day. Now we're down to 1,200. So it went up really fast, but it's coming down as fast as it went up. So I am suspecting that if we don't have a different variant coming along, that maybe we can start meeting in person. Maybe we'll start feeling it out. Maybe in March, maybe in April. You know, March might be a testing thing. So we'll have to figure out. Maria, Hilda's husband is an AV guy. So what we need now is a room. And previously, Jackie Ingstrom and Amanda, mostly Jackie Ingstrom, but Amanda works at Adventist Health too. There's a room there they thought we could use. We'll have to reconnect with them and see if
we can still use it.
That would be awesome, because then it would be cool if Hilda's husband and Hilda and I could go down there, and maybe Claire, because she has the AV equipment, and set up and see what we need to do to be able to Zoom from there, so we can still have our international guest speakers and that are out of Bakersfield guild members can still participate in the guild meetings. So we got
to for March, I'll actually be in the UK. So if we're going to do that, it'd be better to start it in April.
Let's plan April, and that gives us plenty of time. But unless something changes, I really think we might be able to start getting back together. That would be very, very awesome, without any restrictions. You know, at that point, there probably won't be any more mask mandates. Isn't that funny? They're releasing the mask mandates and sending masks to all the pharmacies at the same time for us. So it's like really, you know,
that's our government.
Yeah. So anyway, that is exciting for me. I can't wait to see everybody in person, and maybe, you know, maybe in a few months we can start hugging each other. Wouldn't that be awesome? You know? We could have one great big huge group hug, you know?
Yeah, dog pile.
Yes, really. I mean, Zooming is awesome, you know, and it keeps us together, but having that human touch is so important, you know, so important. And that's what we're deprived of, human touch. So it's really, really hard, especially for those of us who are retired, you know, and if you go to work, at least you're seeing other human beings. So and then in March, I do believe we have another board meeting coming up, and I'll send out notifications to the board members. Actually, I'll send it to the whole guild. You know, any guild member is welcome to participate in a board meeting. You do not have to be on the board. We like input from anybody that wants to put in their 2 cents about what's happening with the guild is more than welcome to participate in the board meetings. The only thing you can't do is vote if we have to take a vote on a decision. And most of the votes are just financial decisions. The rest of it's just discussion and planning on the direction that the guild's going to take. So we love input. So the meeting is in March. I'm not going to look it up right now, but when I send out the March newsletter email, I'll put the board meeting in that. And so we appreciate, and we may meet in person. That would be cool. Have the board meeting in person. We could meet at my house here. Would be very nice. And if you can't come physically, we can the last board meeting we had here at my house, and Renee, who is a board member, we put her on my laptop computer, and we put her on a chair. So my computer was on a chair and she was sitting there. She was on Zoom. So she was in the room with us. It worked out quite well. And we can do that with anybody that wants to participate if they can't be there in person. I started adding the book reviews to the email. Did you read the book review by Fatima? Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah,
Did you enjoy that?
very
Did you
awesome.
enjoy reading it? So we'll do those once a month. Our guest today is David Van de Kamp, and he is from I'm having a brain thing. He's from an Eastern,
Not Serbia.
no, he's from Serbia. Yes, he's from Serbia. And he's going to talk about Serbian knitting and history and stuff, and about embroidering on your knitting, because that's one of the things they do. You know, they make those tops with the embroidery on them. It's really, really pretty. So he's going to talk about that. And next month, we're going to have Flora Collingwood Norris is our speaker next month. It's going to be very, very awesome. Did you enjoy Joan? Yes, that's the book. Claire's going to talk about that book in a minute. Did you enjoy Joan last month?
Yeah.
Yes.
She's going to join us again in July. And prior to that, you know, she's kind of an all-around expert. So if prior to the July, if you have any like specific questions about knitting or things that you would like to address with her, if you make a note of it, you could send it to me and I can send them to her in advance. And that way she can be prepared to answer some of your questions if you'd like, you know. And she's really about a lot about sweater construction. You know, that's what she really enjoys doing. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about off the top of my head? Oh, Claire has some books she's going to review, and I'm going to let her do that right now. We're going to start at the guild meetings. We're going to talk about some books that are in our library that may have to do with the topic of that month. So she's pulled up a couple that she's going to share with us. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Claire, and I'm going to put you big for everybody, okay?
All
I'm going to
right.
spotlight you for everybody.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Here's the books over here. But, looks like they're backwards. So.
Let's see.
Sorry, I'm new at this. I don't see them over here.
That green button down at the bottom that says share.
Yeah, I've got the shared screen, but the screen that pops up is not the one that my items are on. So I'm just going to open one. Boom, boom. Can you see that?
We can't see anything yet. There you go. That's it. That's good.
Okay, you can see the Knitter's Book of Knowledge.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now I got to make it smaller here. Okay, so I've got 3 books that I want to share today. What I did was I went through the entire library last night, looking in the index of things to find information on embroidering, on your knitting. And what I found was that there's a lot of, you know, when you look in a book about knitting, knitting help, how to, a lot of it, there's just a section in the back and they'll have a few things. So I picked out this book because it has more in-depth stuff and pictures that you can look at. So this Debbie Bliss, Knitter's Book of Knowledge, a complete guide to essential knitting techniques.
Can you make that bigger on your screen?
Yes.
It's kind of little, the whole thing, not just the book, the whole thing that you're sharing is small.
Okay, I'm going to try.
There, that's better. Now make the big
Okay.
book bigger.
Okay. So in this book, it talks about embroidering, the Swiss darning, or we call it the duplicate stitch. And I like this particular book by Debbie Bliss because it has a lot of in color pictures, very detailed, so you can see exactly where that needle is going. And I'm sure, Suzanne, you're going to be talking about these techniques today, so I won't go into it, exact every page. So if videos work for some people and not for others. I know sometimes I just don't want to be pausing or fast forwarding and various things. So we have a lot of books in the library where you can look at these different techniques. Cross stitching, knots, and the daisies are in a lot of them. Okay, so that's that one. I just, I'm gonna look. And this book, hang on, I have to move all these little window thingies. The problem is when I make it big, then it covers up all my controls. So this is the Flora Collingwood Norris book, Visible Creative Mending for Knitwear. This one, the embroidering, and Suzanne, you can tell me, it's more for repairing or mending holes or moth holes or a rip or a snag or a stain that you might have gotten on your knitting. And it's not so much the duplicate stitch as, see how tiny this is knit. This is obviously a machine knit item, but it's talking about how to use embroidery to go over certain things.
And this will be our speaker next month.
Yes. And so this is a fantastic book.
And you can check these books out of our library. You can contact Claire. You can actually borrow these books and take them home and look at them.
Yeah, and you can also come and sit for a while in the library, and you don't have to just grab one and take it home. You can sit and browse through as many as you want for pretty much as long as you want, and then check something out.
Is
So-
the library still at your house,
Yes,
Claire?
yes. It's gotten pretty big, so it doesn't really fit at work anymore. So it's at my house. And basically what I'm doing today is just trying to bait you. I want you to come and see these books. And so I'm showing you these pages just to get you sort of excited.
Claire, I'm sort of excited, but I missed the name of this book.
Oh, no problem. It is Visible Creative Mending for knitwear.
Visible Creative Mending.
Visible Creative Mending for knitwear. And this is interesting to me. I can't wait to try this bullion stitch. I do not embroider, so I'm going to have to learn how to do all of these little things, but you can do some amazing things with them. Here's some mending that she has done. And here's the piece de resistance. This is a bullion stitch to make this rose. And these are elbow patches. And then she's embroidered these things around them. Isn't that, I just love it.
It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it's stunning. I mean, you would like to look at the book just for the pictures.
Absolutely. Let me show you the front of the book again. So it's Visible Creative Mending for knitwear. And she's going to be our speaker next month.
Wow.
And then the last book I want to share has less to do with embroidering. It's a fantastic book. Poems of Color. Suzanne, how do you pronounce it? Bohus?
Bohus
Bohus tradition.
with a soft H. Bohus.
Boas.
Uh-huh.
It's a location in Sweden, and it's about a lady who started this cottage industry for women in the 1930s as a way for them to bring in, it was during the Depression, and they could bring in additional income. And it was around for 30 years. And what they
And she's actually the person that created the yoke.
I did not know that. I may have known it. I read the book a while back, but this is something that is just a very interesting read. You're probably not going to go out and start manufacturing these sweaters, but here on the front, you see this card. It was what they would pass out to the women. They'd make these designs and then they'd pass them on to the ladies who were, and there were some men too, who would make the sweaters. It gave all the yarn. And so I'm just going to zip through here. This is the sweater that was made by this group. And the lady who wrote the book, it's not Swedish or anything, but she saw an old moth-eaten sweater, this was it, and was intrigued by the design of it and did a deep dive into boas knitting and wrote this book. Here's the woman who started it all.
Her husband was the magistrate of the area that she lived in.
Right, became the governor, and she's actually, I think, of German Jewish descent. And her husband was working, or the guy that she married was working in Berlin. She ended up marrying him, moving to Sweden, and she had gotten a PhD in botany. But when her husband became the governor of the area, then women started approaching her and asking about what they could do to improve their lives and livelihoods. And
she was not a knitter.
No. So she took that on and she created this whole thing. And anyway, you got to read it. I'll skip over that one.
And knitting wasn't the first thing she tried.
Oh, what was it? The first thing she tried?
She tried a variety of things, but knitting is what worked.
Yeah. So this made me nostalgic for the days when we used to get together.
Yeah.
What was her name, the author?
The author of the book is Wendy Keel. Wendy Keel, Poems of Color. And that's what somebody used, words used to describe these designs and sweaters, because they, line by line, they end up being a beautiful poem.
Isn't the sweater that's on the front the one that our last speaker knitted for this book?
I don't know.
Yes.
Was
That
it?
was Joan. Yes.
Yeah, the
Okay.
blue shimmer or something
The
like
blue
that.
shimmer,
the
and
sample.
there's another picture of it at the end of these pages. I'll show you. It became kind of one of the iconic ones that people think of when they think of boas knitting. So like I said, it's a good read. It's not necessarily for making these sweaters, but you could. So here's an example of a mitten with the card, instruction card. Some of these mittens, and this is why I brought this up, some of the mittens, they have a stitch that was embroidered on after the fact. These are embroidered on decorations here. The little lines on this sweater were embroidered. Here's the blue shimmer.
Cardigan.
Cardigan, yeah. So it's just gorgeous. And this picture is from the 1950s or 60s. And I think that is it. So 3 fabulous books. Come get them.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
You're welcome.
Do any of the board members have anything that they would like to talk about? Debbie Newland,
Yes,
do we have any outstanding checks or anything for membership renewal?
We have 4 or 5 people that I've not gotten anything from. I'd have to go back and look. As many of you know, I had foot surgery a couple of weeks ago, so that's kind of hampered my mobility. And the post office is about as far away from my house as it can possibly get. So I haven't been there since Tuesday.
Okay, because I know Pam wrote a check at the very beginning of the renewal and mailed it in, and she's not marked off as being received yet.
Okay, I'll go back through the statements and double check
Okay,
hers
cool.
for her.
Cool, because I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm trying, now I'm just emailing the people that are paid up members for 2022.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll double check that this afternoon.
Okay, does anybody else have anything they want to say? Any of the board members, any of the committee chair people? Okay, well, let's see if anybody has any knitting that they would like to share until we have our guest on. David's going to come on at 10. Francoise, let's see your sweater. I'm going to start with, Amanda raised her hand. Hold on, Amanda has something she wants to say.
I just wanted to say for book club.
Oh,
We
I'm
just
sorry.
started taking nominations for our March book club. So we have an online book club. We meet on Zoom Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time. We chat for about half an hour. That's when we share what we've been working on, those kinds of things. And then from 7:30 to 8:30, we talk about the book we're reading. We're about halfway through Alexander McCall Smith's The Sunday Philosophy Club right now. But in March, it is Women's History Month. And so people had said, oh, let's read a biography. Let's read something nonfiction. And I said, well, it's Women's History Month. Let's read a biography or an autobiography about a woman who did something interesting or remarkable or something related to women's history. So there are already some really great nominations in the thread on the What the Knit Facebook page. But if there's something you're interested in reading, go ahead and drop the suggestion in there. You're not limited to one book. Some people have nominated 1, some have nominated 3 or 4. That's fine. And then probably round about Sunday afternoon, I'm going to pull them all into voting because I think some of these books might take a little longer to get. I'd like to know what we're reading by this coming Wednesday, so we have time to order the book for March. So anyway, if there's something you'd like to nominate, go ahead and drop it in the What the Knit thread, or you can email me or message me, and we'll put it up for voting.
Yay. The book club's awesome. I highly recommend you participating. And it's not a firm commitment. You can pop in and out if you want. It's okay. Everything's goes with the flow. Okay.
And
Judy.
you don't even have to read the book.
Right?
And you could do an audio book if you want. You don't have to read it. You can do an audio book too. Judy.
We have for attendance prize, we have $40 at the Twisted Skein. So if you want to participate in the prize, you need to be a member and just put your name first and either your last initial or your last name in the chat. And we'll draw it after the speaker.
Yay. Okay, let's start sharing our knitting. I'm going to start with Francoise. I'm going to make her big. Let's see what you're working on.
My Franco sweater is always at the same point. You can see.
What?
Isn't that gorgeous?
Wow.
That is so beautiful.
I'm always at the sleeve because I was working on my pillow.
Oh yeah, very cool.
But I don't like my cable, so I am starting over a second time. So
Love that pillow.
I will come back to my sweater when my pillow is finished.
Yeah. So Claire, do you have any knitting you want to share?
I'm finally working on a sweater, top-down sweater, using the Franco knitting thing.
Mm.
Oh,
On
look
this
at your
part.
cute little design you're putting in it. I love that.
No, it's not a design. It's all my tails.
Oh,
Oh,
They still
I
look good.
loosely just wind them through the fabric because I hate them flopping around. But I used to go ahead and weave in the tail, you know, like a finished sweater. But then if you take your work out and redo, then you've got to work that whole thing. So I just put them in here loosely. But it's
Kind of cute like that.
yeah, I could. Hey, that's where the embroidering comes in. I could just go wild with
Yeah,
some
it adds a
contrasting
little
colors.
texture.
I'm definitely thinking of that because I'm making this in just this plain color because I've never made a Franco sweater. And for anybody who hasn't heard of Franco, it's Frank Jernigan, and he was a software designer at Google for a while. And he created this software where you knit your gauge. That's why I was knitting those other gauges or gauge swatches. You knit your gauge, figure out your stitches per inch with your yarn. You take some measurements here and there, and you punch them into the program, and you hit a button, and it creates a sweater pattern with your dimensions, with your yarn, and you print it out and you just knit it. I'm really excited about it.
Now, did you do the one with the saddle or not?
Did I- no, I just did the crew.
Okay.
The crew
Yeah.
one, and he meets on Saturday afternoons at 2:30. There's a few people that get on Zoom and we talk about the sweaters. So everybody's very helpful. And then I brought up the fact that when you pick up stitches on the front, you're saying to pick up this many stitches, but if I do that, I have to go between the stitches and then I get the dreaded 11s. So
let me say something about what's special about his software is that you're starting, you have like a setting sleeve, but without actually having to do a setting sleeve.
Right.
Because there's other software out there that you put that information in and it spits out a pattern. But
Oh,
his
okay.
is special because of the design.
Yeah, check
Yeah.
out this shoulder.
Yes.
You know, it is, I mean, I'm making a sweater in the round. I'm not making sleeves and then attaching them together or onto the pattern. It's just going to keep going. How cool is that? You start here and go whoop, and you got a sweater.
Yes, very cool.
That's what I'm working on.
Judy, would you like to share anything?
Yeah, I'm making Stephen West shawl. It's painted bricks. So that's,
Ooh,
Very
It's
cool.
really pretty.
that is.
yeah,
I like the colors.
I think I have a picture. Yeah, this is it.
That's
Ooh.
beautiful. I like yours better. Amanda, do you have anything you would like to share?
I do. I've been making smaller projects, so that means I've actually finished some things. So I learned how to brioche.
Oh, cute.
Oh,
Very cute. Don't you love it?
I do. It's really squishy.
It's addicting. I love brioche.
This one's called Brioche Knots by Katrin Schubert. And then I made my son some fingerless mitts.
Cute.
I don't remember what these are called, but they were really quick and made out of yarn scraps.
Very cool.
Even better.
Debbie Newland, do you have anything you'd like to share?
I'm still working on what I have called my, let's see, unmute myself. Okay. I'm working on what I call my recovery shawl. Because I'm having to sit quite a bit, although it really is starting to grate on me. This is called Auburn Waves, and I'm making it out of some Malabrigo sock that I got when I was in Ohio. So I've been working on that. I've got a couple of crochet projects going. And when we were up in Portland, I'll show you this one. When we were in Portland, they had this big bin of yarn. They were just, said, take it. So I took some and then I had to order some more. But I'm making this baby blanket.
Oh,
That's a
cute.
very simple pattern. But it's one of my for the pregnancy center blankets.
Very
Nice.
cool.
And then the other thing I'm working on, and they're like peanuts, because I start one and I get it done, and I'm making little scrubbies. And they're a swirl, and I don't have any handy, or I'd show you one. But it takes about an hour to make one. And so it's a real good little sit in front of the TV, and then you feel like you've accomplished something knitting.
Right.
But therefore our craft fair that we have at my church every December.
Very cool. Well, you're getting a big head start, huh?
Between Vicki Berquist and I, yeah, we're cranking them out.
Yeah, Debbie, what kind of yarn do you use for the scrubbies?
We get it at Hobby Lobby. It's called Scrubology. And it's really it's a fairly thick, more of a plastic yarn.
Mhm.
It's so it's not real easy on your hands as far as, tears up your nails and stuff. So going back to this is really fun. But
Appreciate the softness. Yeah.
but they're turning out really cute, and it's fun to mix the colors, because it's like I can get 5, almost 6 out of a skein of the yarn, but I'll start running out, so then I start the next color, and then you get this really cute swirl in it.
Very cool.
So they're fun to play with, to knit, and I do a lot of that kind of stuff.
Lisa, Gavin Cruz, do you have anything you'd like to share? We can't hear you.
Sorry, I've kind of lost my knitting mojo lately, so I've been doing other things.
Oh, you need
get
us.
it.
Huh? You need us.
I do. I need to meet in person
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
because then I'm shamed in the knitting, if nothing else.
Well,
No.
You need a mindless project, Lisa, something you can just sit and pick up and put down and not worry about.
I have one. I've got a blanket that I've been knitting that is kind of a mindless pattern.
Stephen West has that new shawl thing that he's doing, the marled thing.
Yes.
Use scrap yarns and stuff.
Right.
That would be a good one.
That would be a good one to begin with. And I like him a lot.
Barbara, you're up next. Will you unmute yourself?
There we go. I've been using some scrap yarn to do some, trying to change my camera here. There we go. To do some baby hats for our donation.
Oh, very
hats
cool.
And booties. And then I'm working on a shawl. It's called Changing Stair Steps. And then I've also started this hat that I'm up to the chart, and I have questions, and I've texted the designer because I don't understand the chart. It's got symbols for 2 things that
that's a cute
they aren't on the chart.
Yeah. That was a cute foot you were showing.
Yeah, that's my daughter's cute foot. You got to see it there.
Hi, Jackie.
Yeah. So anyway, the hat is called, I can't pronounce it because this is what it's called. Can you see that? Is it backwards?
Ornement japonais.
Ooh, thank you.
Well, hopefully you hear back from the designer.
Yeah.
Jackie Ingstrom, do you have anything you'd like to share?
No, my knitting mojo is firmly gone.
Oh,
I do need to get with everybody.
yes, yes. Maybe soon, if these numbers keep coming down real fast like that, maybe we can start, having some social, like lunch
Yeah.
on Friday or something,
Yeah.
Laura S., what would you like to share?
I am working, this is my long-term project. Let me see. It's not my ground, none.
There you go.
This is my long-term project. It's
That looks like
cathedral
Patty.
windows.
Is
Beautiful.
it going to be a tablecloth or a runner or
Yes.
something? Yeah.
Yes, it will be a tablecloth. And so I've got a bunch of blocks, but I need to put them together, finish them and put them together and then add more. So that's my long-term project.
That's beautiful.
Is that crochet or tatting or what?
It's crochet. And I actually have a kind of a fun story about it, but my grandmother made that tablecloth for my mom. She made one for every daughter. And then I was at my daughter-in-law's wedding, and her grandma said, I have to sell this table, or this table's going, that I have planned this tablecloth for is going to my stepdaughters. And so I've spent all this time crocheting these blocks for this tablecloth, and I don't know what to do with it now because the girls are getting the table. So I said, well, I'd like to try it. I like thread crochet. And she said, okay. She said that, I said, what pattern is it? She said, it's cathedral windows. I said, what? That's the one my grandmother made for my mom. So this one will be for my daughter. It's in a cream. But it was kind of fun that it's so coincidental. I made a hat standing tall with a twisted rib. And then this cowl is Nubivagant, I guess, by Heather Zopetti. So, and then I did, oh, where'd they just go? Some mitts. Huh, I lost them. Some lace mitts that also match it. So I was, oh, here they are. Yeah, they're I think they're called autumn something, autumn.
Oh, pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Very
It's
pretty.
with mohair. So holding two yarns, a mohair and a silk. And
Luxurious.
I don't know, but anyway, the hat goes, it's the same yarn.
Very cool.
Yeah, so the three of them will make some kind of set for maybe for one of the girls.
Very cool. Okay, Fatima, you're up next. So, between the last time we saw Fatima in January and now, she received notification that she has passed level 3 of the Master Hand Knitting program. So Fatima is a master knitter. You're muted.
Oh, no, not anymore. My husband was in a meeting, but he just finished. I'm sorry. My point is, I'm finishing my Rose of England. That was in the basket for a long time during the time that I was finishing the level 3, and now I feel more confident to finish it. So this is the project itself.
Oh.
These are, I knit twice the body because when I start to knit this, I was in the level 2, but I had a lot of leathers and cutters. So I decided halfway after to made a course with Binka, I didn't like the fabric that was done, so I ripped out everything, and then I knit again completely. So this part is almost done, and now I'm making the gola, that will be here.
Oh,
But one of things that I have, normally when I see a pattern that I like, I don't follow the pattern. I don't follow the directions of the designer. Always I change something. So what I did here with the fold hem, and this is merino decay, I think. And then I made a fold with yarn that I dye myself with cochinilla, and in order to make here the hem, and here also is the same, this part, because this is crochet, but I'm not a crocheter. I really don't, I'm not a, I don't know how to, if I don't knit well, crochet is even bad. So, and the pattern itself here should be made in ferrules, because this is made in one piece open, is not in a round. But I decided to make in a round, and I was hesitating, and I tried several times the excellent video of Suzanne to make intarsia in a round, but didn't work well. So I decided to make, and I go to do the flower with this color here, with duplicate stitch, or eventually embroidered stitch. But
yeah.
Yeah, but probably I will go to duplicate stitch because I become more familiar, or is more, I could do for the level 3, and I'm quite happy to try to do it. I made the swatch. I can go to get it just a moment to show you. Sorry, I didn't count to show. I made the swatch.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's
So
the duplicate
pretty.
stitch.
Yeah, I think will be okay applied here, because the red is also not uniform, and we make, I think, a nice flower applied there.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
That's pretty.
It makes a little bit of 3 dimensions, what I'm quite happy with that. More
That's
than.
beautiful.
And when I finish this, and Claire showed the book of both, because recently I bought exactly a new this book.
Oh.
And I'm going to do this one.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah, but instead of these colors, I already have the selection to make these colors.
Very nice.
We'll
That's
see if it goes well or not, but
yes, very
This,
pretty.
this Poems of Color book was published in 1995, so it's cool to see that there's more interest in it.
yeah, this is a new
coming out.
version. Yeah, this is a new version, and there's also the story of Emma Jacobson, and all kind of course, that one is the previous one, then this one. But that's very beautiful. The book is beautiful, and maybe I can review the book soon and to send to Suzanne for the new one. And there's a very beautiful parts that makes this kind of things.
Yes, very cool.
And what I wanted to emphasize with the Poems of Color is that it's just a very interesting read.
Yes.
Even if you never knit anything in it, it's just an interesting little episode in the history of women in knitting.
Okay, let's do one more person and see how much time we have left. So let's do for Farida. Do you have anything you'd like to share?
Well, I'm not working on anything right now. I just finished level 1 of the masters, and I sent my binder off the day before yesterday. So yeah, I'm so excited. I learned so much. I think the thing that most struck me was because I taught myself to knit from YouTube videos, that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm starting the professional finishing course with Arinda to prepare for level 2. And maybe I'll do a little, I'll knit a sweater during that time. I love to knit sweaters.
Right.
So that's what I've been doing.
Well, that's a lot. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You got that done. That is a huge milestone. Huge.
Well, you have been extremely helpful. A large portion of my works cited was your videos.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
I say the same, Farida. I say the same.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So Jovina, I think we might have time to fit you in before David comes on.
Hi, I'm not doing anything new. I am just continuously working on, well, not continuously, but I just jumped back on my bobble or stitch. Is that the bobble stitch?
Oh, that's so awesome.
And I want to make it for, I go, well, I'm keep deciding, who am I going to give this to? And I think I'm going to give it to my sister-in-law's new baby who's coming in next month.
Oh, well, it looks like you might have it done by then too. How big's it
I
gonna be?
hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
that's awesome to make all of those bubbles. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of work.
I know. I thought to myself, what did I get? What did I
How long does
start?
it take you to do one of them? Have you timed yourself?
It takes me 15 minutes to do a row.
Yeah.
that's pretty fast.
With the bobbles, but
Yes.
the other row is just pearls.
Right.
So, but I enjoy it because I'm just watching and doing whatever I can, or like just watching TV while I'm doing it.
It's mindless knitting at this point.
Yes, it is. Oh gosh, there are times when I had to undo.
The girls are playing soccer today in Claremont.
Claremont, yeah.
Let me see if David's on here. Nancy. There's David. Oh, yay. Okay, we're going to switch over to David now.
Everyone needs to mute.
Yeah, everybody mute themselves. Let me make, hold on. I got to find David again. I lost him.
Oh, I'm here.
I know you are. Wave your hands around. Because there's so many people on here. There you are. I'm going to make you the spotlight now.
Okay.
Okay. So I want to welcome David. And David, this is David Van de Kamp. And he is an amazing young man. And he lives in Serbia. And he's made it his goal to investigate, research, learn, and to preserve the Serbian crafts, including knitting. And he's multi-craftual, and he's a historian and a technician also. He's very good at the crafts that he's trying to preserve. And he's going to talk to us today about the Serbian knitting, including embroidery on your knitting. So I met David through various people on Facebook. He has a Facebook group called Knitters Gonna Knit, and he just started, when did you start that? About a year ago?
Well, I'm not quite there yet, but yeah, getting close.
He has more people in his group than I have in my group. That's how fast it's grown. And it's a very, very friendly group. It's a wide variety of knitters, and they really, he and Irina, and I've interviewed both Irina and David on my live streams on the Saturdays, so you can watch them in detail if you want, but they are knitter friendly, to all levels of knitting and promoting people and their businesses. So I'm going to turn it over to David. Welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Suzanne, for having me. I'm rather excited. So yeah, Suzanne pretty much introduced me, but like she said, I'm David Van de Kamp from Serbia. I'm currently located in Serbia, although I've been living in Hong Kong for quite a few years now. And also, like she said, I'm a textile historian. I specialized in the 18th and 19th century, mostly Regency and Victorian Victorian period. So upon my return to Serbia, I've been a knitter ever since I could walk pretty much, but since I returned to Serbia, I've discovered so many wonderful crafters here and so many wonderful crafts. So I realized that not many people in the world know of our cultural heritage. So the idea was for me to do as much as I can to preserve it, because there isn't anyone else in the country who is specialized in the preservation of heritage crafts. So, of course, me being a knitter, first I decided to go into knitting and research all types of knitting in Serbia that were done through centuries. And like in many other places in the world, knitting here has played a major role in everyone's life over the centuries. Not only did it keep people warm and occupied during winter, but it was also providing families with something to do, and it was also encouraging the farming industry back then. So there was a lot of sheep. However, nowadays that isn't the case. So like Suzanne said, I'm mostly going to talk about embroidery on knitting today, because this was pretty much all the rage back in the days in Serbia, because Fair Isle knitting came into the country rather late. So until people discovered Fair Isle knitting and intarsia, they needed a way to embellish their knitting so it can match Serbian folk clothing. And over the centuries, the clothing changes and the patterns vary, but some parts of the ensemble could not be knitted, woven, pardon me, like socks and gloves and hats, because it just wasn't possible on the loom. So they knitted them. However, if you knit it in single color without knowing Fair Isle, you have this plain piece of knitting that really sticks out from the rest of the outfit, which is very colorful, very oriental, with a lot of pattern. So they decided and figured out a way how to embellish those knits and make them fit in with the rest of the outfit. And thus came embroidery. So am I allowed to share a screen here? Because I've made
yes.
like a slideshow. Okay, so I'm going to change to that now. Okay.
Very good.
Oh, good, it's working. Thank God, technology isn't my best. Okay, so I'm going to, I've decided to put this lecture in two, to split it in half. So the first part is going to be cross-stitch embroidery. And this is the oldest type of embroidery on knit fabric here in the country. So if you look to the left, this is a part of Serbian folk costume. So we have a lot going on there. And you can see all the way from the socks to the top, it's all nicely decorated. And you can also see the apron, which is really rich in flower motifs. And just like separating embroidery categories into two, you can also separate Serbian motifs into two. So we have two types of motifs that are used here. So the first one is flowers. We are obsessed with flowers, and through centuries you can see flower motifs anywhere from tapestries and kilims and rugs and clothing. So it was mostly flowers. Then after the Ottoman Empire occupied these lands, they brought to us ornamental geometric shapes, which I'll get to later. And they are also seen afterwards in our folk clothing and tapestries and etc. So if you look on the right, these are actually from our museum. here in my town. These are a pair of gloves, very well preserved. So the ones in blue, they date back to 1857, and they are incredibly well preserved. So like you can see, it's called cross-stitch embroidery because it is cross-stitch. Now, if any of you have done cross-stitching before,
I've heard.
create various patterns with
Yeah.
it.
You need to find out where to put the TV out in the garage.
Right in front of the washer and dryer.
Whoops, everybody needs to mute themselves. Mute yourselves.
Yes, I'm going to put it. So like I said, cross-stitch was then used to do to work on knit fabrics. And the reason why cross-stitch, because it's not very bulky. And I'm going to zoom in later on a pair of knitting, and you can see the reason it works is because those stitches were so incredibly tiny that if you do cross-stitching, tiny cross-stitches over every stitch, when you get further back from it, it really blends in and creates a picture. And this is what they wanted to achieve. They wanted those flowers to really look realistic when seen from afar. Okay, so here we got another pair where you can see this is also run the same period like the gloves before. And you can see how tiny these stitches were. So also what's very unique for our country when it comes to embroidery is that it's all done in wool. So we didn't have silks, we didn't have cottons or anything else. It was all done in wool. So all this cross stitching was done with incredibly fine spun yarn, what would today be as very fine lace weight yarn. Now here you can see a pair of socks, felted slippers, and an apron that's been woven, but has a layer of knit fabric over it. And all of this has been cross-stitched. So it looks like it's feral or some complex intarsia, but it has been cross-stitched. So you can imagine the amount of time and effort it took to create one ensemble of that clothing. And keep in mind that back in those days, everyone dressed according to this fashion. So every house had, let's say, from anywhere between 5 to 10 women. So each of the women needed to embroider themselves an entire outfit in wool. So it took a long time, but it also lasted forever, and hence why we have them today in our museums. Okay, so here there's another, I'm going to move myself. Another pair of knits, and you can see a more simplified version of that cross stitch. Okay, so on the left here, we have something that is more common here in the south of the country. So very elaborate, compact flower motifs that sort of meet geometric shapes. And this is after the Ottoman Empire occupation. To the right here, you can see very flowery and very round sort of shape of embroidery. And this is more common in the north of the country because they were influenced rather strongly by the Hungarian Empire back then. So they have a lot of flowers, a lot of something you would see in Versailles. And then if you go towards the south of the country, it turns more geometric. Okay, so here we can look a bit close up. Like again, on the left we have geometric, and then to the right we have a flower motif. So I'm just going to magnify this so we can see it better. Right, so you can see this is very tiny. The stitches I forgot to go to the museum and get my info because of lockdown. But I have an information of the gauge used back then to knit such pieces, and the gauge was incredibly fine. It sort of reminds me of Victorian hand stitching. It was so precise and so very tiny that really is impressive. So when you touch it, it really has, it's flat, it lies flat, so it has no bulk to it whatsoever. I hope everyone can see that. So if you look closely, you can see the tiny cross stitches, and the point here is that as we have these of every knit stitch, each one of those needed to be covered with a single X. So pretty much if you look at a Fair Isle chart and you have those squares that indicate the color for each stitch, that's how you would implement that chart into cross-stitch embroidery onto knit. You would get a chart and then follow each square, embroider a single X over one V.
Very cool.
And then over here we have, you can see the very flowery arrangement of this the same cross stitch. See, so it was usually very tightly done, so you can't really see the background of your knit fabric, unless if you wanted it to be a feature of your piece. Okay, and I'm going to move to the second part of second category of knitting embroidery, which is the filler or textured embroidery. And this comes to us a bit later, and it really brings texture to a plain stocking stitch fabric. I personally love to use this technique and often do.
Wow.
Okay, so there's some pieces. Now to the right here, you can see a jacket, and this jacket is produced in an area of the country which is called Silogoino. Now, if you go on Google and if you look up Silogoino knitting, they are really world famous. They have knitted for many big fashion houses in Paris and Rome, and represented all over the runways and over the world. Even Princess Grace wore one of the jackets made by those women in that village. Okay.
How do you spell the name of that place, please?
Silogoino. I think I'm going to write it into the chat. So
thank you, appreciate that.
While we're taking a little break, can I ask what that textured stitch was at the top of the hats?
Which hats?
The tan one, the last slide, 2 slides back.
Oh, the textured stitch, just the stitch.
At the crown of the hats.
Oh, well, I'm not quite sure because I didn't have my info. I was showing it for the purpose of the flower.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I think I might, when we're out of lockdown, I might go and get it, and then perhaps I can post it in Suzanne's group.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. Okay, let me zoom into this. Okay, so here again, you can see the flower motifs, except this time it's not cross-stitch, it's filled. And I have a piece that I knitted and did. I think I'm breaking a bit, but hopefully. Are we still connected?
Yes, yes.
Oh, good.
So
okay.
Can you see
so
David over
this
to
is
the
the vest I've knitted.
Yes.
Where I've used the same technique of flower. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to show a picture of the close-up of this vest as well.
Let me do that.
Oh.
Hold on.
Okay, hold on.
Oops. I'm trying to put you on. No. When you have your share screen on, I can't put you big personally. Can you stop sharing your
Yeah,
screen just for a second?
Hold on, I'm going to, yeah, I'm stopping.
Okay, yes, there you go.
Okay, there I am. Sorry, my internet, because we're up in the mountains, got broken up a bit, so I couldn't really see. Anywho, so this is the vest I've knitted, and it uses the filler embroidery and also intarsia. Now, if you look to the back, you can also see the flower bouquets there. Now, when it comes to filler embroidery, it's pretty much limitless. So if you can embroider it onto regular fabric, you can pretty much embroider it onto knit fabric as well. So if you are an embroiderer or not, just go look up a YouTube video for any type of embroidery stitch and use it to embellish your knit fabric. Now, what's different between a regular fabric and then a knit fabric is that we have the stretch in our knit fabric, and we cannot really pull tightly onto our threads because it will bunch up our knitting. So the way I do it, and this is how I teach my classes, is every time you thread a needle to start a stitch, the first thing you do is you weave in the end, just like you would when you finish knitting. So weaving in your end for a few stitches secures it, and you can trim it immediately so it doesn't bunch up in the back and also doesn't tangle, because when it comes to embroidery, we get a lot of ends hanging on the back. So I have a sample here this is from my winter rose hat. Now, if you look at the back, without me trimming or weaving in ends, this is a big mess. Now, if you can imagine this on a larger scale, let's say for a jumper or a coat, it would be a nightmare to untangle and then weave in later. So before embroidery, weave the ends in and then treat it lightly. You cannot put it onto a hook, because if you put it on a hook, it will stretch the fabric, and then when you release it, it will look awful. So the way to do it is just gently hold it in your hand, like you would do a duplicate stitch, and then treat the stitches later on just like stitches for the fabric, except for the tension, because tension in knitting is crucial. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go back to the share screen so I can show you a few more pictures there. Okay. Okay, there we are. Okay, so here you can see my winter rose hat. The one I just showed is just, it looks better on the picture. So this is very simple, very, very simple embroidery. However, it is very effective when done on a larger scale. It basically uses 3 stitches. So we have a wheel stitch, which you can research on YouTube. It's very, very simple. I used to teach it to 5-year-olds and they got it. It's very simple. So the wheel stitch is used to make the flower there. Then we use a back stitch, just like in sewing or embroidery, and we use it to make the vine. And then the third one I use is a French knot, which is also very simple to do. So when you put those 3 simple techniques together, you can really achieve a spectacular piece. As you can see on the left here, this is my winter rose hat. So done in a band like this, it's really effective. This is also the stitch I've used to when I was making the jacket for the First Lady of Serbia. I've embellished the entire border all around the jacket, also the cuffs and pockets, and it had huge intarsia roses in the back. So it really can make a piece exceptional. So if you ever come to a pattern which is mostly plain knitting in stockinette stitch, you can think about it. Do some YouTubing, find a pretty pattern for embroidery and try it out onto knitting. The easy thing is you can always cut it out if you don't like it, but it can really help to bring accent or to decorate your jumper in the end. Are
you going to share pictures of the jacket you knit for the First Lady of Serbia?
Right, I don't think I have it here. Perhaps I think I posted it in the group.
Yeah, it's in my group, yes.
Yes. Okay, so this is the close-up picture of the vest embroidery that I just showed. And there you can see that really that you cannot see the background. It's all nicely filled in with back and forth stitch. So like I said, it is very simple. It looks intimidating when you first glance at it, but if you give it a try, practice a little bit, it really is simple.
It's beautiful.
Okay. Right, so I don't know if anyone has any questions in regards. I probably skipped something. However, it's a huge topic, and you know, I can talk about it for hours.
Does anybody have any questions? You can unmute yourself or make comments.
I wonder how the embroidery impacts the stretchiness of a knit.
Right. Well, that brings me back to, I'm going to stop share screen now. So that brings me back to the tension when embroidering. If you pull on it too tightly, it is going to affect the stretchiness. But even if you don't, you're not going to have the stretchy knit fabric that we are used to. It's not going to be as stretchy. So I'm going to bring this up, but I'm going to use my hat, it's smaller. So this is my winter rose hat. So you see then this entire band is embroidered. And if I pull on it, it's stretchy, so it stays there. It's not perhaps as stretchy as it would be if it was plain stocking stitch, but it is still stretchy, so you can use it on bands and it's going to fit when you wear it. Now, I'm going to show you the back because we as knitters, we always like to look at the back of others' works. So it is pretty neat since it is embroidery, it is neat. So it's not going to create any bulk in the back. It's all very flat and it's not going to unravel. Because I've had many questions like that. If you do embroidery and if you wear a piece, is it going to get undone over time? It shouldn't if you secure it well with weaving in the ends before and after you finish your embroidery. Also, another tip that I like to give to all of my students is that you never should leave and use a long piece of yarn when embroidering. It's better to do multiple shorter ones and then cut them off and weave them in than to do, let's say, a 2 foot, 3 foot long piece of yarn, because it's very fiddly and it's more likely to make your fabric pull or tug or your embroidery to appear uneven. Right. Also, I'm going to show another piece. So you can scale from a simple stitch. You can then scale it in size. So the one I've used for my hat, a rather small wheel stitches, but you can bring them up and make them larger. You can even make, I've seen people make knit an entire jumper and then make one big wheel stitch on the back of the jumper and weave it in with many colors. So you can pretty much play with it, make them really tiny, make them really big. It's up to your preference. And again, even if it's big, it doesn't affect the stretchiness of the fabric because it just stays in that place, sort of like intarsia.
Right. Demetria, you have your hand up. Do you have something you want to ask?
Yes, I wanted to ask him if he has videos of how to make those stitches, like the embroidery you did on that jacket.
Right. Well, personally, I don't have a tutorial for it, but I can perhaps write in the chat which stitches it uses. 3 stitches, which stitches it uses, so you can then go onto YouTube, search them individually. There's beautiful videos out there that really explain it perfectly, and then you can use them on your knitting.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so the first one is wheel stitch. That's used for the rose petals. Second one is back stitch, which is used for the vine of the rose. And the third one is French knot. And French knot, I have it here. So the French knot is used to make those rose buds very tiny. So they look like buds. So we have a full flower and then a bud. Okay, I typed that in.
Now that hat pattern, did you write the pattern for that? There's a pattern for it, right?
For this one?
Yes.
Yes, so if you go on Ravelry and look for winter rose hat, you can get the pattern. And there's also a little diagram there with the direction of the stitches and also the name of every stitch you might need, and then you can find it and make the hat.
So you have patterns for sale on Ravelry.
Oh, I do, yeah. Right, and I've been rather busy today because I'm about to release a new jumper pattern. So I've been working all day on it, and I've been so excited about coming and talking to everyone here that I messed up an entire page, so I had to redo it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. It happens.
I know. And so you can go to Ravelry and look at David's work too. He has let me see if I can pull up the page and show you his work on
While
Ravelry.
you're doing that, Suzanne, I'm wondering about the braid on the hat border. Is that a knitted braid?
Yes, so that's a Latvian, talking of Latvian braids, my pattern to come is actually called the Dunes of Latvia, which uses 1 million of these braids. So it's a Latvian braid, it's a very simple stitch pattern. It uses 3 rows and it's very textured. So if you ever wanted cables that go horizontally, you can use Latvian braids and they are very effective. And I'm going to put this sideways so you can see the texture there. It's very, yeah, it's very interesting. I can type that in the.
Let me share my screen and I'm going to show you David's page on Ravelry. So here is that hat. It's the winter rose hat. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love it. I just love it. And let's see, he's got some other and he also, not only is he promoting knitting, but the revival of the growing of the sheep and the wool of Serbia.
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful? In fact, excuse me. So you can look, he's going to be releasing later today a new pattern and it will be available here on Ravelry.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that he will, if you release it today, you can share it in my group on Knitting with Suzanne Bryan too on Facebook. That would
yes,
be very, very
cool.
It
is a self-promo Saturday in your group today.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I'll try to post it today. So
okay.
Hopefully that works out.
Yes.
But yeah, like you mentioned, I also work on the preservation of our sheep and our wool because we have a long history of wool production here. However, ever since the World War II and the communist occupation here and everything, it's experienced a big decline. So nowadays we barely ever see any sheep around, or there's very few wool mills that produce wool. So I started my own company that picks up fleece that is thrown out by farmers because they just can't sell it. So they throw it away every time there's sheep. So we go, we pick it up, we bring it back, we process it. It's very minimally processed because I wanted to preserve that rustic feel of our fiber that has a lot of melanin in it, that is still a bit rough, although after blocking it really softens up and is really, really good to work with.
I have some here. Let me show you mine.
So we can buy it in the United States, or you can ship to the US?
Yes, I can ship to the States.
So here,
all right, there it is.
yes.
Beautiful.
So these are natural colors. It's a natural color. Now he has some that he's dyed as well. It's
Right.
I love the smell.
Yeah, it smells like sheep.
Yes, I love it. I love
So
it.
is it like thick and thin?
No,
Is it like
no,
thick and
no,
thin?
no, it's not thick and thin. It's a uniform consistency.
Like
But-
an iron weight?
Yes, it's like an Aran weight. It's
Yeah,
weight.
that's iron. So we offer 3 weights. We have heavy lace weight, then we have light DK, and then iron, which is great for cabling.
Yes. So this is 180 yards for 100 grams. So in comparison, like Cascade 220 is 220 yards for 100 grams. So this is just a little bit heavier. This would be, it's in the Aran, or it's the number 4 on the Craft Yarn Council, on the heavier side of 4, whereas Cascade 220 would be just on the little bit lighter side of 4. It's gorgeous. I just love it. I have 2 of the off-white, of the natural light, and 1 of the dark. So I have to figure out what I'm going to do with them.
Yeah. So the hat is also my wool, and I do custom dyes, and I also have some colors that I've developed, and it's all natural dyes. It's all organic, locally produced, minimally processed, because I really want, I like the idea of sustainability and protecting the environment, and unfortunately nowadays that isn't quite the case. And me as a textile historian, seeing how wonderfully crafted those pieces back in the days were, and then compared to today's fast fashion, really is heartbreaking. So I'm glad that Serbia brought me in as the ambassador for cultural heritage. So hopefully I can, with time, do something and make some positive changes here in the country.
So you're actually working with the Serbian government?
Yes, yes. So I work for the Ministry of Culture, and I work for museums, and I try and preserve all aspects of handcrafts. I also have the support of both the American and Canadian ambassador here in the country, and the local government as well. And the only problem with me is that I'm talking about wool is, with shipping, because I can ship anywhere. However, Serbia isn't the most organized of countries out there, so sometimes it gets stuck in the customs, and then they lose it. So I really need to pay a lot of attention and call them all the time in the customs. Thank God I have some connections there, so I can track the package, because I can't offer tracking from our post office like DHL or other shipping services. But
Right.
the government has been supportive.
When you shipped that wool to me, I think it took more than a month.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it takes 10 days, sometimes my last shipment took 2 months, and I was shocked. And the problem was, it was here in Serbia the entire time, except nobody let me know. So I had to go to the capital, and I spoke to one of my friends who then went to the customs and talked to the supervisor, and they found my package stored away somewhere. So that's the problem. And I'm trying to talk with the government so they can allow people like me to sell their products and send them all over the world, because we cannot make any progress if we try to sell anything here in the country, because the value is so low and it's so underappreciated that it's sickening, really. So the only way to preserve it is to push it to the world. Hence why I wanted to start selling worldwide, and why I started the group, and why I'm meeting all these wonderful people and sharing our embroidery, our wool, all of our cultural heritage crafts. And luckily Suzanne recognizes this well, so she had me on the show where I talked about it for a bit as well.
It's very interesting, very interesting. Does anyone else have any questions or comments or anything they'd like to make?
This is Brenda. Yes, I do have a question. It's a detailed question about the embroidery on your hat.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about using very short lengths of wool for embroidering. Are each of those roses done with an individual strand of yarn? It looked so neat on the back. I couldn't see it running between any of the roses.
Yes, so each of the roses is done with a single piece of yarn. Yeah, and that way you don't get those super long floats in the back.
Right.
The only thing that's floating on the back is the vine, because it's a back stitch, so you're sort of making a pattern, but each rose individually is with a separate piece of yarn. So yeah.
Okay, may I ask one other question?
Yes.
The cross stitch seems very simple. You have defined, it's a defined little rectangle that you're working with. When you go to the more filled in embroidery, it seems like it would take longer to learn where to go through your stitches and how to make them.
Right, well, that's a good point. It depends on a person, I suppose. For me personally, I find the cross stitching a lot more difficult, because you really have to be precise, and if you make a mistake, you will be able to see it.
Right.
When you look at it. However, with a large scale, even if you miss somewhere, you can always go over it and cover the mistake, because it is very bulky and it's done with thicker yarn. So the point is to fill in the entire space of the motif. So if you go and fill it up, if you miss somewhere, you can fill it over. And also, it's more about experimenting. You can sort of draw a pattern that you're going to follow, like when doing embroidery on fabric, but you have to sort of feel the, excuse me, you have to feel the fabric, the texture, and see how it's behaving. So I'm going to show you here. So the flower, I usually start, this is a French knot here. So you start at the center or at the leaf, and you go around, and this is all one stitch. So this is just a filler stitch. If you look at it on YouTube, you can find it. So pretty much you're going in a spiral, creating a pattern. And this is how you just follow an imaginary line. It's not from a pattern.
Maybe my imagination isn't as good.
Oh, well, like I said, I've seen people who, they use that dissolving paper. I forgot what it's called. So anyhow, so they draw a pattern on it and they apply it to the fabric, and then they knit, they embroider over it onto the knit. And then after washing it, it dissolves. So you are left with
it's like dissolvable interfacing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, something like that.
Training wheels on my bicycle.
Well, this is why you swatch.
Yes, exactly. You try it out. You have to see how it works and how it behaves. So when you go into the project, you don't repeat the mistakes.
Thank you for the encouragement.
Yes, this would be a fun thing to just, for me, I have lots of swatches from all the different things I've knit. I always save all my swatches. So you've got some swatches already somewhere that you could practice on.
Yeah.
And I could be doing it with, you could do it, you don't even have to, like David said, he does it with the wool because traditionally that's what they've done, but you could use silk, you could use any type of thread,
Yeah. Yeah, any type of thread, even acrylics or whatever really you have. It's best to use those bits and pieces that you can't really use to knit anything, those tiny balls that are left over, and you have a bunch of swatches. I have an entire box, and this is a great idea. I think I should embroider each square and then seam it together into a coat or a cushion or something. Right. I mean, you can experiment, and it really is. It's meditative as well. It's not like knitting where you have to think, oh, am I doing an SSK or a knit two together? You sort of just sit and you allow yourself to play with yarn and see how it feels and see where it goes and what it wants to create. Yeah, so it's more liberating.
Does anybody else have anything they'd like to say or ask?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question about basically from head to toe, the costume or the traditional dress that the women would make for themselves. Did they wait till they got to be a certain age? Was it a group thing where you made it yourself, or you had family members that would collaborate on an outfit?
Right. Yes, I understand. Well, there wasn't an age limit to wearing the costume because that was the standard clothing of the time. So even young women and men would wear the same folk clothing. The only thing that would not be permitted to a young lady or to wear is some certain pieces of the garment, like a headscarf, or let's say a very short vest or something like that. But the rest of the outfit was intended for all generations and all ages. And talking about group embroidery and knitting and stuff, it was very popular to sort of have like what we would now have like a party night, where mostly during the winter, where a woman would invite all of her neighboring friends, women, who are also skilled at crafts. She would invite them over, give them all a spindle or a needle or whatever really, and they would all help her to prepare for the following winter in terms of wool, fabric, embroidery, and such stuff. Also, when a girl was to be married, it was usually her mother and her that were working on her then costume, piece of outfit to be worn after she was married. And usually the material was provided by the husband to be or his family. So they would usually bring as gifts huge amounts of beautifully dyed wools and needles and this stuff for spinning. That was an important part of every woman's life, so important that they were buried with them, or if not buried, they were engraved on their gravestones. So if you don't know what this stuff is, it's just a piece of wood that holds your fleece when you're spinning, because that was the technique used here. So it was very common to see like a family working of women, because it wasn't considered a men's craft back in those days. A group of women working on everyone else's clothing in the house, because that was their duty.
So if you grew out of that particular outfit, do you pass it down to a younger family member, or?
Yes.
So you didn't necessarily wear that one, here in Western culture, we gain and lose weight a lot.
Right. Well, they didn't really have the ability to gain and lose with so much hard work around. So they would usually, but they did grow out of those clothing, and they were passed down to younger generations. They were never ever thrown away, because again, those garments were made to last forever. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that they really were made to last forever. And this is why our wool is so crucial, because it has such texture that is very durable. And those costumes, a woman would have, and we talk about a common woman here, somebody in a small village, she will have probably 3 outfits in her whole life. So one, she was younger, and then 2 perhaps after she married, because they were usually made oversized. So even as a younger girl, she would wear them. They would be a bit big, but then she would grow into them, sort of, and then wear them for the rest of her life. Yeah.
Where could we go to see a collection of these that have been preserved, that have been around for such a long time? Are there museums there, or are they in other parts of the world?
I don't think there are any in the rest of the world, but we have a museum here in a town nearby. This is a museum in which I'm a patron of, and it has a collection of incredibly well-preserved knitwear and hand-woven folk costumes. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, field trip.
Yes, field trip.
Yes. Oh, you are more than welcome here. I'll take you around and show you everything.
Yeah.
And we can have tea. Yeah, it'll be such fun. Perhaps I should post some pictures of from the museum and stuff in the group.
Yes,
we would love to
Yeah.
see them.
Yeah, so that would be fun. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to wrap this up. This has been so interesting, so interesting. And David, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope you all enjoyed, truly.
Yes,
very much.
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Well, I hope it wasn't too academic. I tried to sort of make it to narrow it down just enough so that you don't lose interest in it.
It was perfect.
It was wonderful.
Great job. Yeah.
You got me interested in it.
Yep. So I made it full screen with everybody's the gallery. So David, so you can see everybody on here. So we actually have people in this group. This is the What the Knit group for Bakersfield, California, but we actually have members from Francoise is from Lyon, France. Fatima is from Portugal. We have some people from outside of California. Demetria is from you're South Carolina, right, Demetria, not North Carolina?
Well, I'm in North Carolina right now, but I'm originally from Uruguay.
Yeah. So we're kind of a little international guild here. And thank you so much, David. This was totally awesome. Totally awesome.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Okay, so
thank you.
We'll let you go. Thank you. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so let's we'll do our drawing now. Judy, does anybody else want to add their name for the drawing? You want to take names, Judy?
Last minute add-ons, go ahead. Let me put them in there and give me just a second.
Okay.
Suzanne, how do we order his yarn?
Go on Facebook and in my group, Knitting with Suzanne Bryan, he's in my group, David Vandekamp, and you can message him on Facebook. That's the best way to get in touch with him.
Thank you.
Okay, Jackie, I got you. Okay, so let me share.
That awesome. That was so awesome.
That was excellent.
Did you guys
Boy,
like that?
I've got my map of Europe out here and I'm trying to plan this. Okay, we're going to stop in Portugal and then France and then we'll go on to Serbia and
You can start from west to go to east.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, let me share my screen. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Okay, so we got our wheel. All right, are we ready?
I'm ready.
We need thrilling music.
Laura.
Yay!
Yay,
Laura.
Okay.
You.
Laura, I'll email you the gift card.
Oh,
Okay.
gosh, how exciting. I never win anything and I
Well, you did today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me stop share. Here we go. Okay.
Okay, so we didn't get a chance for everybody to share their knitting. Is anybody else? And I can't keep track of who I don't remember. I'm sorry. So if you have something you want to share, raise your virtual hand, the little yellow hand, and I'll just go from person to person. And okay, so we're going to start with Kathleen. Hello, Kathleen.
Hi, how are you guys?
So fun to see you.
So I'm gonna turn my camera around if I can figure it out. I am knitting an iTag yoke. There it is.
That's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
That is gorgeous.
So I started this with the Olympics.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So, but my problem now is that this is my ribbing and I feel like it pulls in too much and I already went up a needle size.
Oh, no, that's fine. I don't think it pulls.
That's fine.
Yes, it'll be
Okay.
fine. It'll be fine.
Okay.
When it will relax when you put it on. Ribbing does stretch out. Yes. That's beautiful.
It is.
Oh my God.
Anyway, this is for Kendall, my 6-year-old.
Oh,
gorgeous.
Hey, if it was mine, I would do instead of doing ribbon, I would do lace on the bottom.
Oh yes,
that'd be cute.
That would be pretty. I'm not sure. I started a different pattern. I got a lot done on it. Claire can attest to that. She saw a picture and then she said she didn't like it. So she likes this one. She likes that it has pockets.
Yes.
And I don't know what lace I would do on the bottom. I thought about doing
The same lace that you have on the top. The same lace you have on the top as a border on the bottom instead of the ribbon.
Dimitri, in a second, you can share yours and you can show it how you've done it.
She wanted,
yes.
She wanted button band too. So I wasn't sure how all of that would go with, like if I did a picot hem or lace at the bottom with a button band. So I don't know. I have a couple. Yeah. Anyway,
you know what would look good with this with the button band would be a twisted rib. A twisted stitch rib would look really sharp and clear. Would be very nice.
That would be pretty.
Yep.
That would require more swatching.
That's so pretty. Okay, Vicky, let's see what you have to share.
Well, I was going to show, I'm working on another tea towel.
Ooh.
This one's for my daughter. She really liked the one that I gave, that we gave to our granddaughter and said, I want one just like it. But this is what Debbie and I are making.
Oh, the scrunchies.
Oh,
yeah.
Cute.
Yeah, the scrubbies.
Very cool.
Yeah. Do they
That's
have
it.
cotton in them or is it all?
No, it's
no
all
cotton? Plastic or what? Yeah. Okay. Because I was going to say sometimes those will get stinky, but
You know
if it's
what?
just plastic.
I put my dishcloth in my dishwasher.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, there
can
you
do
go.
that with these too. Just
yeah.
put it on your top rack and put it in one of those prongs that's sticking up.
That's a
Okay,
good idea.
Brenda, your turn.
Hi, everyone. Oh,
Hello, Brenda.
so nice to see you again. I feel hipper for having made these little socks. I shared them at book club.
So
They're-
cute.
They're the boombox socks by Tracy Miller, one of the grocery girls. But I've used duplicate stitch. Yay! I feel like I'm still on trend today. And there is a cute little heart even on the back of the heel.
Oh,
That is so
cute.
adorable.
Thank you. So boombox socks. I even bought the kit from Tracy's sister Jody, so I'd have the yarn. And then I too have been doing Olympics knitting. I went to a trunk show at the Altered Stitch here in Valley Village for a yarn dyer I'd never heard of called Sugar Plum Circus. And she focuses mostly on solids. And so I bought a bunch of yarn. I thought, well, I better use this since I bought it. And I did my first 2-color brioche.
Wow.
I did a cowl.
Very
Yay.
pretty.
So yay. So that's 2 skeins down, and I'm working on 2 more. Whoops, that's the backside. For
Ooh, pretty.
a Melanie Berg shawl.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm always inspired by the people that we have talking to us
Mm-hmm.
at the meetings, and I end up inevitably cue at least one of their patterns.
Yes, yes, exactly.
That's
Wasn't David fun?
He was.
He is, yeah.
That was so amazing. I feel so fortunate to be able to get to meet all these people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay,
And I hope to
Beth.
meet you all one day in person.
Yes, you'll have to come up here.
I hope so.
Well,
Unless you want us to all come down there.
well, you can do that too. We can make a day of it, or 2 days of it, or 3.
Okay, Beth, you're up. That sweater's gorgeous.
Oh, my goodness.
That is Steingas.
Yes, I was a test knit for Jennifer Steingas, but it's been out for a while. But yeah, I was thinking of the same thing. I made those boombox socks. I'm a tester for Tracy Miller. I'm actually testing her new cowl pattern called, I think it's Wild Rose cowl. It's kind of bunched up on the needles, but it's color work, working on that. So yeah, those boombox socks and that duplicate stitch is great.
It
looks
kept
great.
going. Is there time for one more? Do I have time to do one more little heart? I loved the duplicate stitch.
Yes. So
Very
Brenda, do you have anything else you want to share, Brenda? Let's see your sweater a little more. I want to see it, the one you're wearing.
You mean Beth?
Yeah.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I'm talking to Beth. I'm sorry.
Oh, this is actually when I tested this for her, you had the option you could make it short sleeve or long sleeve, and I did short. Although I don't wear fingering weight sweaters that much when it's warm, but I thought I'd just do that today. But yeah, it's I think I've done 3 or 4 for her. Yeah.
I love the way the neck comes up like that.
Yeah.
Yes, very.
And this
pretty.
is actually, I think this was Ron's yarn, the green. It's really a pretty shade, but it's not showing up. It's kind of got blues and greens in it. I don't think
Very
it's showing
pretty.
that well on camera.
Okay, Brenda, you had one thing more you want to share?
No. I was just commenting on the boombox socks and how fun it was to do those little hearts.
Yes.
Me
Like
too.
stripes.
Where are you? Let me find you. Can you show your sweater? Where are you? Raise your hand.
Are you?
Raise your virtual hand. I want you to share your sweater that you're working on.
Oh, sure. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can raise my hand here.
Yeah,
Right
there you
here.
are. Okay. Let me find you.
Okay. Let me so that you can see me. Okay. I'm here. Can you see me? So
Yeah,
I'm not supposed to be sharing the sweater I'm working on because it's a contest, but I'm gonna show you the swatch. Okay.
Okay.
I'm allowed to show the swatch. And okay, let me see. How do I turn this around? Okay. So anyway, I wanted to show her. This is my the ITAG sis that we did with you, and
Yes.
I wanted to show that lady that how you can use lace as a border.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Really
Anyway, so
pretty.
this is the swatch for what I was working on. And as you can see, I'm using lace as the ribbon.
Ooh, pretty.
That's really pretty.
That is.
Gorgeous.
So because I think that, you know, a regular ribbon with the lace would be, I mean, I think it would be too heavy. Now in this one I used ribbon, but I made the ribbon connect with the pattern. So let me show you the back. I'm so proud of this sweater. I
love
learned so much from it, Suzanne.
It's beautiful.
So
Oh, wow.
see, but I connected it with the ribbon with the pattern. Yeah, otherwise, just ribbon would have been too heavy with the lace, in my opinion.
It's just beautiful. That was one of my favorites. Very
Thank you, Suzanne. I thought it was your favorite.
Of course.
Which sweater is that?
It's the iTag.
I'm so.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the iTag quiz. Yeah.
So
yeah,
does,
and thank you, Suzanne. I learned so much, and everything I learned from you.
oh, you're too kind. Okay, so anybody else have anything they want to share? If you do, raise your virtual, Farida, she got her hand up. Let me see. Here we go.
Yeah. I just wanted, along with David, I wanted to suggest this book. It's Anna Zulberg, and she has wonderful embroidery stitches in this book.
Great idea. What's it called? Splendid Appeal?
It's Splendid Apparel.
Oh, apparel.
I took a class with her at Stitches West, and she just, it's beautiful work. I mean, the book is beautiful just to look at.
So keep talking for a minute. I'm going to get a sweater to share. I'll be right back.
I love how Anna at Stitches, I went to Stitches SoCal and took another class from her. And throughout the day, she would change sweaters, and they were all gorgeous, of course, and many of them had embroidery on them.
What was the author's name?
Anna,
it's Zilboorg.
Thank you.
We have her book in the Guild Library, Knitting for Anarchists, which is also
Yes.
a fun read.
She's quite a character.
Yes.
I used her book to knit, to embellish this sweater.
That's beautiful.
That's the back. And this is the iTag drop shoulder, but my version of it, but here's the front. And I actually have a picture of me with Anna Zilberg. I'm wearing this sweater, and she and I are standing together.
Beautiful.
Very
You can
pretty.
see up close.
Oh, wow.
All the little
Wow.
things.
So now would be a good time for me to ask the board to consider buying that book, Splendid Apparel.
I don't know if we have enough board members on here, but we can bring it up at our board meeting.
Well, I would be happy to donate this one too. I'm happy to share it.
That book is also in the Bakersfield Library because I've checked it out several times.
I made it with that also. Yes.
Oh, yes, look at that. Look at Francoise. Let me make her
big.
big.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, that's gorgeous, Francois.
Go anywhere.
Wait.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
yeah. Hold it back
gorgeous.
a little bit.
Isn't that beautiful?
It was my iTag drop shoulder. Yes.
So pretty.
That is so cool.
Beautiful. Her knitting's gorgeous.
Yes, yes.
Does anybody else have anything else they want to share? Raise your hand.
I wanted to show my Latvian mittens.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Oh,
Oh, wow. I haven't seen those.
Cute.
It's a Latvian braid.
Right.
Yes. There. And
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Those are gorgeous.
I have something else to share. I'm not done with them, but
Okay, let me get you, Demetria. You have to put yourself up there, Demetria, so I can see you, other than your.
oh, I raised my hand.
I know, but I can't spotlight.
Oh,
There,
okay.
you have to show your face to be spotlight.
Okay, so these are my Starry Night gloves.
Yeah.
They're not finished yet, but
Oh, the
I'm trying
fingers.
to
Look at
get
the
there.
Cute.
Yeah, I have 4 fingers, and I'm trying to make them match. See, it's they've been sitting there while I worked on the other stuff because it can get overwhelming at times.
Very pretty.
Very,
But
very.
thank you.
We need to take a winter field trip to go see the polar bears and so we could wear all this stuff.
Right. Right. Exactly. Okay, so does anybody else have anything they want to say or bring? Okay, Laura has her hand up. Let me go to you.
I'm looking for a copy of Kim Hargrave's Still, the book Still, because I want to knit her sweater temperate. Would anybody
Let me go look in my library. Hold on. I have some Kim Hargrave's books. I don't have that one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Her books are beautiful. They're worth collecting. They're just so pretty.
Well, I've looked online on the used books, but the cheapest one I can find is $100.
Yeah, they're collectible.
And I don't want to spend $100 for a.
Look on eBay too.
Okay.
And also you can check at the library.
Okay.
You
Thank
know.
you.
Her books are so pretty. The photography in them and everything is so beautiful that they're worth collecting.
She has a fitted sweater, long sleeve sweater with ruffles around the sleeves and the hem.
Uh-huh.
So I could probably take another pattern and modify it.
Right. Ruffles are fun to make and they're not hard. Anybody else have anything they want to say or add or before we close off? It was a great guild meeting. Thank you for participating.
Yes, it was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was a great guest you had today. Loved it.
Yes. I was worried that people wouldn't show up because you haven't heard of him. Do you know what I mean? But he's a gem. He's a hidden gem.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to let you all go. You have a wonderful
Bye,
day.
everyone.
We'll see you next week. Next week, same time and same place is social knitting, and I have a Tinty bags lined up to do a little trunk show.
Oh,
okay. So you may want to come.
Yes, wait, just wait.
When is the trunk show?
Next Saturday. Same 9 o'clock. I'm going to have her come on at 10 o'clock.
If anybody misses the trunk show, Attenti is based in Glendale, which is the next town over from me. So feel free to come.
Yes.
I'll set up a time to go.
Okay, you guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.